Welcome to part 2 with my friend Rebecca from California. So we split it into two because it was super long, but it also was really great content and I couldn't bring myself to delete anything. Now speaking of that, I really wanted to not post this half just because of some of the things that we talked about. It was super awkward and it caused me a lot of anxiety for a good few hours after we stopped recording, just because of the stuff that I personally had shared and that I really don't talk about often to do with my health. But like we talked about in the first one, I can't with good conscience try and encourage people to communicate, be vulnerable and be real in day to day on social media if I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. If I want to see change, then I've got to change also. And it ended up being a really good discussion. After listening to it back, it was a really good thing that I ended up being honest, and I hope that me being honest helps you to be honest wherever you're at in your life, whether it's health or work or anything that you're struggling with. I hope that it encourages you to find someone to go and be honest with and to be vulnerable with, because it's so invaluable to have people around you. So a big thing that was on Rebecca's heart was to talk about seasons and seasons in our friendship specifically, because we have been through so many ups and downs and times apart and times really close, and it's quite interesting to talk back about it and to talk through it, because you just kind of get to a place where I see how I reacted, I see how I felt in that situation. I don't really want to feel like that again. It's pretty sucky. So that's what we talk about as well. Again, like I said in the first one, if you listen to anything on here and you want to talk to someone about it and you can't really talk to your immediate setting, then we absolutely welcome you to comment or follow us on our social media and have a chat with us. So Rebecca's Instagram is BeccaJane612 on Instagram, and mine is at NaomiKane_. What did you want to talk about? I've just gone on so many tangents. I think.
Oh no, this is wonderful. You're the one who has all the questions. I just love talking to you.
I love talking to you too.
Oh no, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wanted to chat a little bit just about our friendship and how the different seasons and how it's changed and grown, and kind of your I don't know, either viewpoint or opinion of how friendships maintain throughout big life changes. We already have the kind of challenge of living long distance, but we've gone through pretty big life changes, and and just what is your what's your perspective on that, and what's your hope moving forward of just your attitude of knowing that friendships change but still trusting that we'll stay friends.
So a big thing from when we have been friends, even at the beginning, it was always kind of, we treated each other like a lifeline. We weren't super close at first, but it was just if you need me, I'm there.
Yeah.
Let's FaceTime. Let's do something. And I love that. But when we were you were going through stuff or I was going through stuff, I personally felt so beyond useless.
Yeah.
Being so far away from you, and like you said before, how I am with friends or how I'm with anyone, if I can't go and take some food or let's just go out for a drive for 10 minutes. I go on so many drives late at night, just because that's just my thinking space and time to just let's take ourselves out of the situation and let's just go somewhere neutral and take your mind off stuff. And that's just we're both the same, because we went on a few drives when we were both in similar places, and
like we said before, like that's another thing that I feel like we're robbed of, not being close together, and that's been one of the biggest issues for me, not being able to love you like I want to.
Yeah.
Another thing, I forgot what I was going to say again. My lordy lord. Oh yeah, sorry. So another thing that I super struggled with is because of the time difference, like we're 8 hours apart, remember? We're 8 hours apart, and that's the difference between like a morning and a night, or an afternoon and like going to sleep.
Yeah.
And when you said, when we were first like friends, you were going through uni and I was working like a lot of the time, and we were just in completely different stages of our life. So the times I did want to talk to you or want to text you, or the times I did text you, I felt like such a nuisance.
Yeah.
And it just felt like wanted to be close to you, and like we said before, like we did feel like an immediate like friend connection. It just felt like the times that you'd normally like text someone who's close to you and be like, oh hey, what are you doing, like what's going on.
Yeah.
It felt like a nuisance because it's so far away, don't know what you're doing, don't know what you're up to,
yeah,
don't know where you're at like in the day, that kind of stuff. That I really struggled with, like that for sure.
Yeah. I think that we have grown, and we talked about this just the last time we talked, but I think that we've grown and developed that, like you said, like in starting out, we were just like a lifeline of like, we would talk to each other if it was like a really big news thing, or if it was like a really bad news thing of like, I'm really struggling and this is this, and I really need your help, or I just need your support. And we didn't have all of the in-between moments that like Melanie and I did, of just like you see each other and you just kind of you hit all those notes of like, how was your day, how are you feeling today, like what happened. Like we weren't hitting those, we were just, every time that we talked, it had to be a big conversation. And I think that was draining, you know, like it and it's taken us some time to, I think, just, and it happened pretty naturally, honestly. Like we kind of, we struggled like really hard with that. And then I think it has a little bit more naturally moved to like, yes, we will text each other a little more often and, you know, check in and update. But also when we FaceTime, it's not like what crisis is happening. It's just like, how are you? Like we're checking in now on like, how's family, how's work, how's life, how's relationships, you know, and that, but that took work. That took work for us to, I think, get that out and then figure out what we were going to do with it.
Yeah, because it was only like, because I came, so you came in like the end of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I came the following summer, June-ish time?
Yeah, June.
It's literally when you were doing all like your, what do you call it? Your like, end of your exams?
Our studio?
Like
Dead week.
Dead week.
Dead week, yeah.
I literally came like during like that time, and you're all like super stressed.
Oh,
and, like,
so bad, yeah. And not super available. Like you came for 2 weeks, and half of that time was like, I'm sorry, I'm taking tests and I'm like doing projects, and that was sad, for sure.
Yeah. So that was just like the first time that I properly got to experience like your guys' life. It was super stressful. You can see they're just like, you're really free, or you're like, you just can't figure out like mentally like what you guys are doing. Or, like exams are stressful for anyone. Like it wasn't like a bad thing. It was just like, oh, so this is how they cope with stress. It was a really good thing, really. Yeah. And then like towards the end of the trip, like you came out and met me like when I was doing like road trips around and stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like in them moments that was another like huge thing of like going, oh crap, this is how you cope with like super stressful things, and this is how I cope with it. Yeah. Amazing. It was so good to like witness that from like both ends. Yeah. For me, for sure.
Yeah. And also that trip was the first time that like you and I hung out just like without Melanie.
Yeah.
Because we've like all three of us have always gone around, and it's great because we get along so well together. But that was the first time
so
that it was like, okay, like we don't have Melanie, and now it's two people is different than three. So that was a good building opportunity for our friendship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that was a big like season for us, and then that I went through like a big situation like after I'd come back from traveling, which she helped me with, and then it was just super weird that season because it was just like either or. It was either really good or like the pits.
Yeah.
There was no like give and go. Like for both of us, like even like when I was there, like you were struggling with different things.
Yeah.
Let's just say, and situations and stuff. And like after that trip, I feel like that was another thing for both of us that we were just so. Yeah, we're both the same with like how we deal with stress, or this is how we act with different situations. It's like,
which is really, really sweet, but is also difficult because we
both recluse.
Yes, we respond. Our like defense mechanisms are the same, which sucks because it's like you'd think that we would both know better, but like, but that's not how we're thinking about it in the moment. It's just like this is all I know how to do, and so. But again, I think that also facilitates like more grace when we do come back and be like, I'm sorry, I did it again.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, and because we can understand each other, we're like, it sucks, but like I've done the same, and so there's plenty of grace to come when that happens.
Yeah, and then there was a season where I was super like, it was just the wrong like time of year for me just to be like wanting to talk to you, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And we both just kind of had like the step back for how long was it? Was it like 5 months or something ridiculous?
Yeah.
It was like the longest
5-6 months
we've ever spent like not talking like since knowing each other.
Yeah.
And there was just so many times that I just wanted like to talk to you, and I just was like, I just need to like not like go through like not being able to talk to you because of the time difference or because of what you're going through or what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how you feel about that period.
Yeah. Well, that was right after we came and visited in 2016, right? Yeah. So like that was just such a huge transition,
Yeah.
And then like that trip also felt there was like burnout at the end of it of just like so much like health things for all of us.
Of it was for me.
Like it was like there's so much that happened, and then I feel like I just kind of shut down. Like I came back and was like my whole entire life just turned upside down. Like friendships that were so important to me are like no longer.
And you finished like uni like as when you came out on that trip as well.
Like graduated school a week later, came and visited you, which was like therapy in a way of like getting to be with you and process all those things. But then then I came home, and then it hit me of like, I'm back living with my family, and I'm looking for a job, and I don't have any direction in my life. So like I was just kind of imploding, and then we kept missing each other, or again like you were trying to like connect with me, and I was like unavailable, and then we just went through.
I think it was both. I think we both was just like, we should talk to each other, and we want to talk to each other, but it was just like mentally, physically, emotionally, it was just not happening for us. And even the times we did talk, like the few times,
it was awkward.
We just weren't connecting like we did. It was super, super awkward. It was the worst thing ever.
and then we went through a period where we just weren't talking, and that was scary because it felt like a very real possibility that we would just never talk again. Because we're never gonna run into each other. It's like we were both stubborn in like, I'm not gonna do it first. She's gonna have to talk to me. And I think that's why it went on so long. Of like, I think after a couple months, we both were feeling like, okay, it'd be nice if we were friends again. But it just took so long, and then we had to go through like that awful, ugly, like painful, like let's talk about it. Like write it all out. And then I think even then, like, when we were like, here's everything that, like, we're feeling, we still were, like,
super stubborn.
Super stubborn, yeah, of like, well, fine, that's how you feel, well, this is how I feel, and that's more important. It took, like, it really did take a lot of work and a lot of time.
Those messages to look back on are so
cringy. So cringy.
Oh, sorry, carry on what you said.
That was, oh man, it was devastating. It really was.
Yeah.
And feeling like that you hated me because it went for so long, and like knowing that like there were so many things that I had done wrong, you know, and like, you know, we both had hurt each other, and just feeling like this person who's been so important to me like hates me, and you know doesn't care anymore. And again, like that's fears and my like
I was the exact same.
You know, lying to myself and believing it of like, yep, nope, it's done. She hates me. We're over. And I
we're over. It's literally like we'd broken up. Together. It was this weirdest situation I've ever been in.
But and that's so, it's like, it's so sweet to see God's mercy in our friendship, in how he's like, he's not only pursuing like us individually, but is pursuing our friendship and like like knitting our friendship back together. And because I've experienced this of like, there have been times where I'm like, you know what, God, it's fine, it's done, it's just, you know, it was a seasonal friendship. But there have been friendships that he has like saved from my like, you know, panic throwaway pile of like, okay, you're just like overreacting here, let me like let me fix it. And I think that we're better people because of our friendship and because of what we because of that season that we went through. Like, our friendship is so much better. And I learned a lot of like hard work and intentionality from that, and have learned that like that's, I have to do that a lot in my marriage, and I have to do that with, you know, with other friends if things get difficult, or realize like, okay, fight the lies that you have in your head, like fight your insecurities, fight your sin, and continue to try to make amends. Don't be stubborn. Don't let it last 5 months like it did. Like,
it's so long.
Die to your stubbornness.
Like, super overthinkers as well, so it just made everything like 10 times worse. It's like,
well, I think
this. She doesn't want to tell me.
Silence is the worst for both of us. Like, I've had a handful of falling outs with friends, and that, like, I would much rather someone say something hurtful to me than not say it at all, which is ironic because I will not speak. Luke and I are both the same way. We just shut down because we know the things that we're thinking are going to be hurtful, so then we just don't talk, and that's not ideal in marriage, to just like not talk about your issues. So that we're working on that, but like that's just an example of like, that is clear in our friendship, it's clear in my marriage, it's clear in like all of my relationships of like, sometimes you just have to say the things instead of being silent. But that's really hard.
Rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Hashtag American words.
You don't have Band-Aids in England?
No, we call it plasters.
What?
We've talked about this, I swear down.
I don't think so.
You go rip off the Band-Aid, we go rip off the plaster. Come on, get it done.
I will never cease to be amused at the differences of our languages.
I think, like, one of the first, like, just to make it a bit lighter, because that was super heavy. Yeah. It was great, but super heavy. The first, like, few conversations that we had was just like, let's compare our, like, languages and words and stuff. It's like, eggplant, aubergine, what the bloody hell?
We like Googled it, like one of our first, like the first night that we were there, we're like, well, what's so different? And then we're just like, wait, what? You don't say these things? My favorite, so I'm going to tell the brief story of my first conversation with your brother when we were on the train.
Yes,
so they had like picked us up, so I had a sinus infection, my ears had popped, or like hadn't popped, I don't know, whatever. It's so painful, and they were plugged, so I couldn't hear very well. And your brother like has you all have a very thick accent. I'm a lot better.
I do not have it as much a thick of accent as Caleb does.
Correct. Yes.
Correct.
And yes, you're right. And so we're sitting, and I'm trying to make conversation because, again, like, first impressions, like, want to make Naomi's brother love me. And so, like, we're sitting here, and him and his friend are sitting here, and he's you know, asking some questions. And so he asked me if I have ever had pasties.
Yeah.
And one, I've never heard that, you know, like, I didn't know that was a thing. Two, I thought, with his accent, I thought he said pasta.
Yeah.
Three, again,
I love this story so much.
Can't hear. So he asks me, he's like, oh, have you guys had pasties? And I thought he said, have you had pasta? Or do you like pasta? And I responded emphatically, I love pasta. We just came from Italy. We eat pasta like every day. Pasta is my favorite. And both him and his friend are just kind of like deadpan, like looking at me, but they don't say anything. And Melanie is just like laughing because she is understanding my confusion. They are not. They are just like, this girl's crazy. And so his next question is like, oh, well, have you been to Greg's? Which is a place in England that sells pasties. And I thought he said Greece. So I'm like, no, we haven't been to Greece, but we're going in a month and it's going to be so fun. We're going to go to Santorini. And then he just like stopped trying to talk to me. He was just like, okay. And Melanie is again laughing. And I'm just like, I'm great at conversation. And then after we got off the train, she's like, here's what happened. You're wrong. You embarrassed us both.
Every time I hear that story, I just wish I was there just to witness it, not to even be in the conversation, just to be like, I love pasta, like, on a train. I'm like, no one talks on the train in England, like, it's just not a thing. It's
this loud American.
I've, like, adopted the whole, like, you talk on the train, the train, you're bloody weird, what are you doing? But yeah.
Missing all social cues.
I love that story so much. It's the best thing ever. I also remember from the first time you came that you were shocked that we could just go and buy like fireworks and sparklers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's just not a thing in America, and that just boggled me.
It depends on which county, you know, but like I grew up San Diego County, it's banned. I think honestly, like, you can probably do it in America, but like where I'm from, it's so dry. So like if you set off fireworks, like there's gonna be fires everywhere. So I'm sure in, you know, maybe Washington it's fine. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Even, like,
but
sparklers, dude, they're only like handheld little efforts.
Nope. We always use sparklers anyway, but frowned upon.
You're a bad person.
Yeah. Live life on the edge.
And I remember the second trip you came, we went to a few parks. Well, you call them parks. It's just like a little reservoir effort that you were just like, this is what England, like, a place looks like when they're not in a drought. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're so like deprived. Because you and me are like very similar. Like, we love nature.
Yeah.
We love like places like where you go for a walk or hike, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Big weirdo. And you're just like, yeah, everything's green. It's like, alright.
Yeah, I was blown away. It's like not a thing that we have in California is like big giant lakes. I mean, maybe at golf courses, but those are like have all the money. Like if you go to a public park, it's not going to be like, look at this giant beautiful lake. Everything's green. Yeah. No.
What was your favourite thing from the second trip you came on? When was that? 2016?
2016. Going to Ireland.
Yeah. Ireland was amazing.
Yeah. I'm sure you remember this, but like Ireland has always been like my number one, and the Cliffs of Moher was like, we went on that trip and I was like, I don't care what we do. I don't care at all. We're going there for almost 2 weeks. Like whatever, I just have to go to the Cliffs of Moher. Like we were in Ireland for 3 days and I was like, whatever, it's going to be fine. And so we planned it all out that like we were going to fly to Ireland, be there for 3 days. And then we were going to take, like we flew into Dublin, so which is like the opposite end of Ireland from the Cliffs of Moher. So then we were going to do like a little plane from Dublin to that area of Ireland. And it wasn't until, like, the night before we were flying to Ireland that we realized that plan wasn't going to work out. I don't remember why.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it was too expensive, or it was, like, the time was going to be too long. I don't know. And I just, like, had a mental breakdown. I just shut down. I just gave up. And I was like, that's the only thing I wanted to do, and now we're not going to be able to do it because we can't afford it, and blah, blah, blah. And I just, like, cracked. and like, you and Melanie were both like, well, let's do this. And I was like, no, we're not going to do anything. We're just not going to go. And Melanie, like, just, like, went for, like, I don't know, half an hour, and, like, researched everything and made it happen so we had like a bus tour. So we basically flew in, spent the night at that hostel where we had a barbecue, and then we got on a bus, like, early in the morning, spent the whole day on the bus, like, stopped at a couple places. You and I were both really car sick the whole time because we're on a bus, but we went to the Cliffs of Moher, and it was this brief little, like, beautiful diamond moment of that day where it was just nausea the whole day, but it was, like, it was worth it because we went to the Cliffs of Moher, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. I've never been, like, travel sick until my first, like, trip to America.
Yeah.
Never been boat sick, travel sick, car sick.
We were all of it together.
We're all of it, all of the six. I'm like, even, like, driving to different places now,
yeah.
I'll, like, have to drive, or, like, I struggle, like, traveling with the cramps.
Yep, I carried Tums with me at all times.
I wasn't like this.
Yeah. Sorry, we ruined you. I get car sick, like, regularly now. Like, I drive a lot of the time. Like, Luke and I, like, I like when he drives because neither of us like to drive. But, like, his driving will make me car sick, just, like, driving from, you know, my house to his parents' house. You know, it's like...
Yeah.
It's bad now.
So, out of the time that we've known each other, what one thing do you think that you'd want to change in the time that we're, like, going through different stuff? Or, like, what would you, even, like, towards me, like, what would you have made me want, like, communicate to you? Or, I don't know. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Do you want me to be, like, super honest?
Go for it.
And we touched on this the last time that we talked, but I think like when we're together, like the few, like the brief times that we've, like, been together and seen each other, like, I think you try really hard to hide your health, like, hide what you're struggling with, which is just, like, your day-to-day life. And that, like, how you were saying, it's, like, wanting to be able to help. Like, it's hard for, like, us being friends and you not being able to come and pick food up, or, like, come by and give a hug. Like, when we're together, even when we're apart, like, I know when things are not good, but, like, you try so hard to... And I don't know if you're protecting me or if you're protecting yourself, of just, like, trying to... keep that to yourself. And the last time that we talked, it really was a little bit more eye-opening to me of like, just realizing, like, you're doing the best that you can, and you're trying to, like, maintain your, like, sanity, and, like, with your health and with your friendships. And so I'm learning to trust you're sharing what you want and need to share, and you're keeping what you're comfortable keeping to yourself, you know. But that has been hard sometimes when we've been like, when we've been together, and I know that you're, like, uncomfortable or you're feeling sick, but, like, you won't always communicate it, or you won't always, like, say like, I need this, and I can just see that you're, like, silently suffering, and it, like, breaks my heart sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's good. That's spot on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go into it. Let's just dive
Okay.
Since, like, I've been sick now since I was 8 or 9 years old. Yeah. So that's just always, like, been a thing that's a part of me. It's a thing that I try to ignore as much as I can. Doesn't work ever. Yeah. So, like, even all, like, the big stages of like learning to be at school, learning to have friend groups, learning to be sociable, it's always been 10 times harder to do anything. Like everything has felt like a mountain. Like every single thing, every little like life stage that everyone normally goes through, that is normally still really hard for like regular people. It's like mind boggling to me. So like that's always been a coping mechanism of me. I've just been like, if people don't know I'm sick, I prefer it.
Yeah.
That's how I cope with it. That's how I prefer it, and that's how I can just act normal. I'm not really normal. I understand that. Like, health thing is such a big issue for everyone, but even more so because I feel like it, when people know a lot of health things about me, they define me by it and they judge me by it.
Yeah.
And I've had that situation where that's manifested, like, a lot.
Yeah.
So if I talk to anyone about it, I either get someone going, oh my gosh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
That's just like fake sincerity.
Yeah.
So to avoid awkwardness for them more than me, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it. I don't say what I'm feeling. And that's just how, like, I've done it for years. I've literally, like, been sick since officially diagnosed, like, 2006. So it's like it's like 13 years. Like, more, probably 15 years now. So that's just how I've always been like, if no one knows about it, it's great. 10 out of 10. And I'm not a complainer anyway. I don't really complain about anything. Yeah. It's just not something like I'm comfortable with. I find it really awkward when I do complain, because no one knows what to do with it if I complain. It's so like,
it's so jarring.
Like, I don't know. Like when I do it, everyone's just like, oh, shit. What's going on? It must be awful if she's complaining about it. And it's a bit of my like fault, but I'm just like, if that's how I get through the day, then great. Yeah. Like if I was talking to someone the other day about it, and like if I'm doing an event and it's like super taxing, like I'll need like at least a day before it just to get mentally prepared for it. Going, like the last one I did, like had back pain before I even finished like the night, and I'm just like, right, I compartmentalize when I'm allowed to be sick and when I'm allowed to like be well, and when I make myself like do different situations. So that's just, it spills into different relationships, and a lot, like you said before, like when you're in the studio, like people read that as like this or like this. It's like when I don't complain or don't say how I'm actually feeling, people judge that as she's not being honest, or she's not wanting to share with me, because we're not that good, like good friends in that area. I feel like she's not sharing that with me because it's my fault, or she's not comfortable. It's just like, it's not anything personal when I like not do it. It's just if I have to then look after someone else's, if they like have a bad response to whatever I say, then
now you're taking care of you and them.
I then feel like I'm responsible. Like, turn it off. Like if I'm like super sick, I can't be sick. I need to look after that person. Like I can't do both. Yeah. So that's always just been a thing of like, oh, I need to be better at it, but that's just always, my character is like, if someone else is worse off than me or needs me more than I need to like die that day, like that's what I'll do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It helps. It does.
I'm sweating a lot. This conversation.
Sorry.
It went from like being really good to like talk about the health.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's not. Again, that's just how uncomfortable it makes me, like trying to be honest about it, because it's just not a thing that I do. Like I hardly talk. Like the times I do talk to my family isn't a lot. Like people think it's a lot, and people think like I am really close to my family, but they just don't. Like no one really understands. Like I don't understand my illness, let alone anybody else. So it's just like, it's super hard to be like. I like when I went to, like for the first trip to America, it's like I'd literally been throwing up nearly every other day for about 7 months before I came to America. So then to come and like be feel attacked for it was super hard, and every time it goes to like that situation or goes to like a bad situation, that just confirms like to me that I shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So then it's like hard to break down another barrier.
Yeah, and it's just added and like built it up even higher.
Every time that I've like every time I've tried to like or wanted to share stuff with you, it's just like if I wrote down every time something I felt like in the week, if I was sick or if I had a headache or a migraine or a stomach bug or something like this, if I literally wrote it down every single thing in a week, it's just unbelievable like how much stuff like is day to day. So I'm just like, if someone handed that to me, I'd just be like, what?
Yeah.
So it's just not a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I do as much as I can, you know?
Yeah.
I think, because you and I got to talk about health, and like, I was just sharing, like, you know, my, you know, how I feel about doctors, and how I feel about that, and that we opened that door a little bit, because I feel like that's, like, the one thing that has been kind of taboo for us, that we just, we don't, that, you know, I've never really brought up, because you don't really talk about it, and you don't really talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think that even in our last conversation that we had before this one, it kind of opened my eyes to realizing, like, I can't understand a lot of things, and learning that I need to be trusting you more, instead of just saying, like, reading a situation and being like, oh, why is she not, you know, like, filling in the blank of, like, why is she not telling this, or why is she not sharing this, or why is she doing this, and, like, actually trumping that with trusting that you know yourself a lot better than anyone else does, and, like you said, have been living with this illness for the majority of your life, and so trusting that if you're handling the situation the way that you're handling it, that's the best way that you can perceive, both for you and me, to be handling it, and trusting that, instead of trying to make you, you know, respond or, like, include me in a different way, because you hit the nail on the head of, like, you were saying how some people respond is feeling like, well, like, do you not trust me to share that? Is that, like, are you not comfortable being vulnerable with me? But I just have to be okay with the fact that, like, I just can't understand everything. I can't empathize with everything. Like, I want to. I'm like an empathy monster. I just want to, like, feel your pain and, like, tell me, but, you know, trusting you. And
I think a lot of the, like, I don't control it all the time, but I think a lot of the time when, like, I want to be empathetic towards you, I then don't give you the opportunity hardly ever to do that to me. So it is a thing that I need to, like, let you do, because that's what friendship is.
And
I need to be a bit more humble in that area.
It's something we both can work on. Again, very similar. We have that same that same fear and struggle.
Yeah. That's good.
Good talks.
That was a lot of things.
I love how when you get uncomfortable, you sweat, and you're just like, oh gosh, I can't handle it anymore.
So we were going to record this, but I'm actually going to not put the video up just for that now. It's just going to be an audio thing. Okay, right, just to round it up.
Okay.
Was it okay? Yeah, towards the end of my first trip with you, I showed you how to do the elephant noise, like Eddie Murphy does in Daddy Daycare. Okay. There is video evidence of this on Facebook, a little bit, of Melanie just absolutely butchering it, and I don't actually remember you doing it. Did you do it?
No, it's because I can't do it. I'll try.
You have to, basically, do it.
Okay, but I'm going to do it back here.
Go for it.
Because I don't want to blow the mic up. See? I can't do it. Okay, wait, you do it. Show me how to do it.
You have too much air between your lips, man. Blow hard. It sounded like a deflating balloon or a deflating, like, rubber chicken.
That's my best.
That was great. That was great. One more time.
There it is. Just
Okay,
spit
so
everywhere.
I said to round it up. This doesn't round it up. But what do you want to leave with people that either we've talked about in the past or that we've talked about here? What do you want to challenge people with, and what do you want to see different? Maybe in the next year or whatever. What do you think?
Okay, what? That was a lot of questions. Am I
It was a lot of
talking?
questions.
Am I
So,
talking to you,
first
or
of
am I?
all,
Okay.
about you, and then second of all, like, what you want to see change in, like, culture or whatever.
Okay.
Go.
What am I saying about me?
Like, what do you want to, like, challenge yourself to be better
Okay.
at? Or
Okay.
what
Got
do you
it.
think you're
Got it.
growing
Got
in?
it. Got it.
What-
I've had a handful of good conversations in the past week about, like, this specifically, about what I'm going to say. So I think it's good timing. But I think I would like to see a change in like, my attitude about, like, honesty in friendships and vulnerability. I think that I have realized that in, like, a lot of friendships, I've just kind of settled into, like, well, this is what it looks like. But
Yeah.
that's not furthering growth. And I think friendships that stay like that end.
Yeah.
And they
Totally.
just become very stale and don't offer a lot of depth to them. And I want to take more responsibility in asking challenging questions and also, like, either being forthright with, you know, honesty about myself, or like, always sticking to being honest when people ask me questions, instead of, like, because there's an easy answer that could be a half truth, or it's an actual okay, no, let me actually answer your question. And I think in hand with that, I want to continue to try to have conversations with people that I don't know very well. Like, there are, like, a lot of people at my church who, like, I know their names and I'm friendly with them, but, like, I don't know their life. I haven't asked them, you know, I haven't asked them to be vulnerable with me. And so I really don't have, you know, it's not very valid for me to live my life feeling like I'm alone and that there's nobody, you know, who's going to talk to me if I'm not taking that step to talk to people and to, like, ask them questions about themselves, and in return have them know me. So that's my challenge to myself.
Love it. And what do you want to see people or how we communicate change? What would be your ideal way of, like, chatting to people, or how do you see communication changing? If that makes sense.
I think this is something that I'm just realizing is, like, really necessary in my marriage, but I think is just necessary in general in my life, but I think would help in, like, widespread, is just having the confidence in a relationship to say hard things and trust that it's going to weather the storm. And I think that we're, as a culture, very careful about what we say. And I think on one hand, there's a lot of wisdom in that, in, like, choosing your words wisely and in being cautious about what you say. But I also think that there's a lot of fear of, like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I sound stupid? Or what if I sound insensitive? Or what if I know the thing I'm going to say is going to hurt this person? Then I'm just not going to say it. But I think, you know, iron sharpens iron. Like, it's going to be painful to grow, but in relationships and in friendships, and help other people grow. But I think I would love to see that. I would love for people to treat me a little bit less delicately, and I would love to treat the people that I love and know and trust a little less delicately when there are things that need to be said. That's my call to the world.
Yeah, definitely. I think that totally agree. I was watching a vlog the other week, and they were just like, everybody is either offended or compliant, and that shouldn't be a part of relationships or friendships or vice versa or anything. In marriage or not, in friendships or not, even like acquaintances. If you can't be honest and even like if you need to challenge someone on something, if you can't be brave and discern what you need to say instead of being like, sorry about this, but and it's not helpful. It's not like great criticism or, like I said, like honesty, vulnerability. It needs to be challenged, and it needs to be a normal thing to be like, I understand how you're feeling. Can I just say what I think about that? It's just not a thing we do. Like a few people that I know are like either on helplines or in a job where they need to like be working with a lot of people, and they just be like, so I understand this, where can we go from here, how can we go forward from this situation? Or like I feel like in bad situations it's either just like, oh, I'm really sorry, blah blah blah. It's nothing more than that. It's just like comforting, either than like we've both have been like, oh, I'm really sorry you're feeling about this, how can I help you? That's just not a normal thing. Like I don't have that in a lot of other relationships where I'm just like, I'm really feeling this, don't know what to do. I don't know. Like,
ooh, rough.
Well, let's talk through it. I don't really understand that experience. Tell me about it, and let's try and like go through it together. I just passionately think that should be a thing with all communication, all relationships, work related, not work related, family, anything. It should just be like a normal thing where you just be like, I hear you, let's do it together. I love that. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're like completely different people than like when we first met each other. It's amazing.
It's wild. We've grown a lot.
So that ends part 2, and that finishes my podcast with Rebecca. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had food for thought and things to think about. If you do want to have a chat with us about anything that we said, then please feel free to talk to us. Honestly, we would happily chat about anything, and if you do want us to extend any specific part, then we'll happily do another episode. Just let us know. My Instagram is at @NaomiKane_ and Rebecca's is at BeccaJane612. I hope you have a great day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and hopefully talk to you soon. Bye.